Hi all! Everything in my video is pulled from the public domain, and I am using them under the Fair Use, Fair Dealings guidelines. Everything I say is my own opinion. You should look into this information for yourselves, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Good morning, everybody. This is a super long video. We have so much to cover. We're covering what's left of what happened at the Invictus games. We're covering, again, some new information about Netflix that's come out. We're covering some comments that you guys made about the upside down flag. We've got a few other news stories. We're throwing in about Archewell is now merching their own merchandise. My goodness, there's just so much to cover. Please stick with me and let's get into it, shall we? Let's go. We're going to start off today with a comment made by Yankee Wally supporter on Twitter about the fact that the flag, that Megan painted the flag incorrectly. And she pointed something out that I had not considered, that possibly she did that intentionally because she and Harry are supporting Russia in invading Ukraine and having a war. They did buy their house from a Russian. The house that they were staying in Canada was owned by somebody in Russia. Definitely they have Russian ties. I had not considered that. That is a possibility. One of my followers, Karina Baez, I hope I'm saying that correctly, pointed out that other countries, when the flag is upside down, it means the nation is under attack. And that's why she did it purposefully. Okay. Now, with all that said, one of my followers sent me an email because of what Scooby-Doo said about, it's a flag in distress. If that's the case, why didn't she write the word peace upside down as well? Good catch. All right, next up, I have these comments that were made from my followers pointing out that my channel is no longer being recommended or coming up straight away and they're having trouble finding me. And somebody else said, yeah, that's been happening. What's happening? Very simple. Ellie Hall wrote this article that came out not that long ago. And of course, Boozy took complete credit for what happened. But basically, YouTube has decided that they're going to de-rank us so that we're no longer recommended. Because according to Ellie Hall, YouTube has become a hotbed of hatred and conspiracy theories about the Duchess of Sussex. YouTube said that they've been training their system over years to weed out what they call bad accounts. I can only say this, it hasn't affected me. In the last week to 2 weeks since I came back online, I've gotten almost 3,000 new subscribers. So I'm not sure, what that's doing. Ellie Hall basically said the community guidelines essentially are a joke and they don't stop targeted harassment. I will say this, because she definitely works with Boozy, but I will say this. She did point out in the article that the Sussex Squad podcast regularly posts things that are in flagrant violation of YouTube's harassment policy, that their videos attack people, attack the royal family, and yet their account is still on YouTube, while the majority of their videos have now been made private to keep YouTube from removing them. What Ellie Hall doesn't understand is, if you're going to put yourself in the public eye and you're going to go watch poor veterans who are living on disability while you're wearing hundreds of thousands in jewelry, I have the right to critique you. I'm not criticizing. There definitely is a difference between criticism and abuse. I've never called her names. I've never said anything about her hair other than the fact that she's wearing extensions, which is true. I've never said anything about her skin color other than pointing out times when she's wearing bronzer, which turned her orange, which she was. I don't make fun of her. I critique her. And if you're going to be in the public eye, I have every right to do so. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this is why I keep telling you to check to make sure you're still subscribed. And if you're not, just come every morning because I literally put up a video every morning. But this is why I keep telling you that. All right, let's move on to our next topic. The Earl and Countess of Wessex arrived in St. Lucia because we know that they're going to be on a week-long visit to the Caribbean as part of the Platinum Jubilee. I hope I'm saying this correctly. They landed at Hewanora International Airport in St. Lucia. And I look forward to following this tour. I love the two of them. I love her outfit. She's always so polished and professional. They're not holding hands. Very refreshing. Yes. So they're touring for the whole week. Pictures so far look absolutely fabulous. I will keep up with this tour as the photos come out. I have to also say, I think it's really nice that Edward and Sophie have stepped up to the plate to help cover all the engagements since Harry and Meghan stepped back. I think that's really nice of them. They didn't have to, but they're in a bigger role now, and they deserve it. All right, moving on. All right, an article came out saying that the royal family was sick of Prince Harry's pot shots after his last interview. Gee, you think? I mean, he hasn't seen his family in how long? He shows up to the meeting. They showed up late, I might add. It's been reported by everybody. So they're late to the meeting. They have this meeting. They warn him to keep everything private. And boom, he takes swipes at the family on camera. I hope this is it for the family. I hope they finally get it through their noggins what's going on and they move on, because God knows the rest of us are trying to. All right, moving on. All right, this little tidbit came out saying that Meghan Markle's half-sister Samantha sent a message to Meghan saying actions speak louder than words. You know what? I get where she's coming with that, because Meghan is always talking about compassion and action and be nice to everybody. And yet she treats her family like dirt and still isn't speaking to her father. Yeah, good point. All right, moving on. All right, this next story is about the book that Tom Bower's writing. Meghan's concerned it could damage her image. Yeah, it could. He is well known for writing books that are unauthorized, unsparing. He always tells the truth. He never leaves any stone unturned. This could be ugly. I mean, everybody has said this guy doesn't pull any punches. He is terrifyingly thorough in his research. So anything that he puts in that book, you can take it to the bank. It's probably true. Now, previously, he's worked with some of the subjects, but Meghan has made it very clear that that's not going to happen. So, you know all those stories that came out that said that Meghan super glued a girl's eyes shut and she did this to people and that to people? Well, if she did, I guarantee you, court order, gag order or not, it will be in this book. I'm going to be the first one in line to buy it. All right, let's move on. All right, next up, Harry went out to a bar and the first thing everybody noticed was his hat. And if you look a little closer, they're merching. Ugh, Harry's merching. Why am I not surprised? Yes, it's the Archewell logo on his hat while he's out drinking. And people had some comments. I mean, Archewell isn't a charity. It's a profit-making enterprise, which has a charitable arm, which is absolutely true. Somebody else pointed out it's a marketing ploy for these two. Absolutely disgusting. This is what they're doing while they're at the Invictus Games. And it's embarrassing. Yeah, somebody else pointed out, given the fact that Archewell only raised $50,000 in 2020, I doubt very much that their merchandise will do any better. And I agree. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now we're going to jump back to when the King Wilhelm Alexander of the Netherlands got to the Invictus Games and Harry was waiting outside and he shook his hand and did the head nod, and Harry had to get that money shot. That was part of the whole Invictus thing and the whole Netflix thing. He had to get the money shot. Now, let's remind people, he didn't give Harry and Meghan an audience. He didn't let them stay at the palace. They've had no private meetings, nothing. Okay? So, yeah, that it's a snub. The man in the middle, Mr. Cruyff, was the one managing the tournament in The Hague, and I believe that's who the king was expecting, but of course he would never be rude to Harry on camera. So I showed you this yesterday, but here it is again.
Majesteit, mogen we even foto... Majesteit!
Now, one of my followers, Linda McCorkindale, pointed out that the king was probably put on the spot, which is what I said. And for good PR, he didn't need to recognize Harry to not lose face. And as a humble gesture, Harry can spin it any way he wants. But yeah, he was put on the spot. That's what I've said all along. Now, for those of you who didn't catch it, whenever Harry is super nervous, he plays with his wedding ring like, my mother and Meghan are with me. My mother and Meghan are with me. Here's just a couple of examples of him doing it. Watch this. Now they're watching wheelchair basketball. And people are like, oh, Harry made the king laugh here. I don't think that's what's going on. I think the king is watching the game, and I think he's getting into the game, and Harry's trying to talk to him. And the reason I say that is because look at the next few shots. Here's one. The king is like, woo, they made a basket. Yeah. Look at Harry's face. He doesn't look to be excited like everybody else is. Same thing in this shot. Harry just does not look happy at all. King looks very relaxed. Harry looks very stiff. And the same in this shot. Harry looks stiff. The king looks like he's having a great time, seriously. So anyway, when it ended, Harry went to hand out the gold medals. And of course, you know who was right behind him getting it on camera. Watch this.
Andres Rodriguez. Number 35, Carlos Jimenez. Coach.
So as they're leaving, those same little kids that interviewed Harry wanted to interview the king. Now, watch what Harry does. I don't think in his wildest dreams he would ever think to disrespect royalty from another country. So as they want to talk to the king, Harry literally just walks off to the side and says nothing. Watch this.
Majesteit, mag ik u misschien één vraag stellen?
Absoluut.
Bent u trots?
Ik ben ontzettend.
So the Invictus Games ended, but before everybody went home, Harry made an announcement that caused more problems. Harry announced that the next Invictus Games in 2025 will be in Canada, and then he had to add on that we will be doing it in partnership with Indigenous communities in the spirit of truth and reconciliation. Now, those comments are being seen as a swipe again at the Commonwealth after the tour of William and Kate. Now, let me point out to you guys that he chose Canada, right? Knowing that statues of his grandmother and Queen Victoria have been torn down by protesters. So tell me that he didn't choose Canada intentionally. Tell me that that's not a statement, because it is, no matter how you look at it. All right, let's just move on. All right, next up, Netflix again. Now, for those who don't know it, this is billionaire investor William Ackman. And what he did, interestingly enough, in January, he put over $1 billion into Netflix just days after the forecast about the subscriptions. And now, all of a sudden, he's done an about face, and he has liquidated $1.1 billion, which locks in the loss of $400 million in their shares. Very interesting. Now, you should know that he said on Wednesday that he had learned from earlier times when he funded a pharmaceutical company that cost them billions in losses. And he said, and I'm quoting, "One of our learnings from past mistakes is to act promptly when we discover new information about an investment that is inconsistent with our original thesis. So that is why we are pulling our money." Good for him, bad for Netflix. Now, it is being reported that Netflix is on track for the biggest stock drop in a decade. And it's because there's nothing to watch, they're too expensive, and they have no interest in Harry and Meghan. I don't understand why Netflix hasn't dropped them already. I think it's because they've already put so much money in, they want to try to get something out of it. But yeah, sometimes you just, like this guy Ackman did, sometimes you just have to see the writing on the wall and cut it off. You know what I'm saying? Now, at the same time, don't forget that Netflix is still working on Pearl in their animation department, but the animation department now is having all kinds of issues, and they're having firings and cancellations. There's even allegations that data has been put out that was altered to make people want to put money in. It's crazy. But they're slashing their animation due to what's going on with the subscriber base. It's crazy. So what do you think is going to happen to Pearl, Meghan's animated series that has never come out? And as far as I could tell, and I could be wrong, but as far as I can tell, David Furnish, Elton John's husband, is no longer even involved with the project. So maybe it's going to get scrapped as well. A big thank you to Royal Terrier for this bit of information, because this is a tweet that was put up by Phil Rinda, talking about my wife is more badass than your wife. Phil's wife, Amanda, was supposed to be assigned to be the showrunner for Pearl. By the way, Phil is one of the people who was let go. You all should know that Phil was one of the department's executives. He was director of creative leadership and development for original animation. Wow. Now, he's not the only one who was let go, but And on top of that, Netflix is taking other shows like Bone, Toil and Trouble, The Twits. They've all been canceled. It says in the article that they want to focus on projects that bring in the same number as viewers as Boss Baby, which, by the way, it's licensed by DreamWorks Animation. And they did announce updates for projects like My Family's Dragon or My Father's Dragon. One thing they did not mention is Pearl, interestingly enough. One of my followers, Mark Frew, pointed out that Netflix is using a lot of excuses to explain what's going on with the share market loss. The problem is none of the other streaming services are having the same problem, which is a good point to make. If this was COVID or a password sharing problem, it would affect all services equally. People are voting with their wallets, and this is no doubt a result of the Harkle variant of the COVID vaccine, and there's no vaccine for that. Spot on. Now, in an attempt to halt the subscriptions, they've dropped early the Jane Austen with Dakota Johnson, the girl that was in 50 Shades of Grey or whatever, all the sex scenes. I don't see how that's going to help, but okay. The truth is, Netflix is in serious trouble. That's the truth. I don't know what they're going to do to pull themselves up before they go completely under. This ought to be interesting to watch. So, you guys remember Travelist, this company from Prince Harry that you never hear about that partnered up with Google so that when you fly, not when he flies, because of course they're always on private jets, but when you fly, you can look at what your carbon footprint is doing. Well, you did not know, you may not have known that they partnered with Expedia. Now, remember, Expedia is supposed to help you get cheap rooms. You don't pay as much as everybody else pays when you check into a hotel, right? So Travelist joined with Expedia, and one of Expedia's groups is Trivago, where you can go online to get the cheap rooms, and they were fined from Australia $33 million because they were lying about the room rates. So you weren't actually getting any kind of a special deal. I'm not shocked. I have to say that when I use these kinds of groups, when I use these kinds of things to try to get hotel rooms, I always go to the actual website to see what they're charging in comparison to what these other areas are saying. And yes, I have found inconsistencies, and there you go. Those are inconsistencies. All right, let's move on to our last story for today. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Louis is growing up. Age 2 with the rainbow hands, age 3 on the bike, and now here it comes. Aged 4. Oh my goodness, isn't he a little cutie patootie? His mother took the pictures as usual, and you can see the resemblance from earlier photos. Like here's one where they were walking in the flower garden, that park that Kate helped set up, and here's the opposite. Now he's a little older. This one really does it for me. Look at his face and the little chubby cheeks, and now look at this one. Yep, absolutely adorable. Wow, very long video, lots of information. You guys just need to leave your comments. I can't even go through everything. Let me tell me what you think about Netflix and the animated series. You know what I'm saying? Tell me what you think about the king meeting up with Harry. Tell me what you think about the upside down flag. I mean, there's just so much. So leave those comments. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell to make sure you're set up for when I upload things. And don't forget to double check it every time you log on. Don't forget you can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Getter. You can follow me on Rumble. Don't forget you can email me. To those who have donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.